I welcome you guys back into my video over here, and today's nice beautiful course is just learning how to really do these words in terms of connecting words together. And I already did one video, although I'll do another one just so that you understand how it goes. Realize that I have a word here which is discerning, and what I do is I go on a thesaurus.com or dictionary.com via YouTube in terms of the Google Drive. So you go into Google Drive and then you understand to go into the dictionary.com and thesaurus.com, where you can go and discern or make sure that you go and do your synonyms up. I realize that although I have my eye in place, I realize that the whole point is you have to understand I'm just doing much better than yesterday, and I have a discerning word over here which I have to learn. And the whole point is I see discerning is astute, insightful, in terms of I see discerning is astute and insightful, whereas insightful is knowledgeable, although I understand I have to put my and there. Whereas discerning is astute and insightful and knowledgeable and penetrating and perceptive and piercing and knowing and acute. So what I'm doing here is I'm connecting nice beautiful cousins together of the word discerning, and that's called synonyms. I realize that what I have to do is I have to click on a new nice beautiful channel over here, and I have to go find a new word, and I'll go perceptive. I actually will go astute. I press on astute over here. I realize astute is adroit and canny and crafty and discerning and insightful and intelligent and keen and shrewd. I realize I'll go adroit. I see adroit is adept and artful and deft. I realize adroit is deft and masterful and nimble and proficient and skillful and apt. Otherwise I'll go deft, because that's a word I still have to learn. I see deft is adept and adroit and ingenious and nimble and proficient and quick and skillful and able. I'll go nimble. Whereas this is how I do my nice beautiful synonyms over here. I see nimble is adept and adroit and argyle. Nimble is argyle. I see nimble is bright and deft and lithe and also lively and skillful. I'll go and press argyle so I can pronounce it much better. I see argyle is athletic and buoyant and energetic and frisky and limber and lithe and rapid and spirited. I'll go press lithe. I see lithe. I see lithe. I see lithe. I see lath. I see lithe. I see lithe is limber and nimble and slim and argyle and supple and also lean and lissome and loose. Realize that's the whole difference between synonyms. So when I do these synonyms, I'm going and doing it with my heart. Although lissome is agile and athletic and flexible and graceful and limber and lithe and nimble and pliant. I say lissome is pliant. I'm learning these words the first time. I see pliant is compliant and docile and pliable and obedient and tractable and yielding. I'll go and see what pliable is. I see pliable is docile and flexible and limber and malleable and manageable and pliant, whereas pliable is pliant and spongy and supple. I'm going to press on I'll go press on spongy. I see pliable is spongy. I see spongy is mushy. I see spongy is mushy and porous and soft and springy and squishy and elastic and light and resilient. So what I'm doing here is I'm connecting the words with and. So spongy is mushy and porous and soft and springy and as such. I see spongy. I'll go now and press porous, because that's another new word. I see porous is absorptive. I see porous is absorptive. I see porous is absorptive and penetratable and permeable and pervious and sponge-like and spongy. I'll go and press absorptive. I'm going to press absorptive. See absorptive, whereas it has a nice P there, and it's not absorbed in terms of the B, whereas it's ABSORPTIVE. Whereas absorptive is assimilative and bibulous, whereas absorptive is penetratable and permeable and spongy, whereas I go bibulous. Whereas bibulous is absorptive and permeable and porous and spongy. I'll go and see what permeable is. I see permeable is absorptive and accessible and enterable and passable and pervious and porous and porous and spongy. I'll go see what porous is. I see porous is absorptive and accessible and enterable and passable and pervious and porous and sponge-like and spongy. Realize now I'll go and press sponge-like, and let's have a look. I see sponge-like is absorptive and accessible and enterable and passable and pervious and porous and porous and spongy. I'll go and see what accessible is. I see accessible is available and handy and reachable and unsable and attainable and employable and exposed and near. Or else I'll go usable. Or else usable is accessible and applicable and convenient and expendable and functional and profitable and useful and valuable. I'll go see what profitable is. I see profitable is beneficial and commercial and effective and productive and successful and useful and valuable and worthwhile. I'll go see what commercial is. I see commercial is, because I don't know anything other than I realize I still learn my words over here. I see commercial is commercial is economic and financial and monetary and profitable and wholesale and exchange and trading. I have to go monetary because I have to learn that word. I realize monetary is budgetary and financial and fiscal and pecuniary and capital and cash and commercial and pockets. I see pecuniary is monetary and banking and budgeting and business and economic and fiscal. I'll go fiscal over here, which is budgetary and economic and financial and commercial and money and pecuniary and pockets. I realize now I'll go and see budgetary over here. I realize budgetary is financial and fiscal and pecuniary and capital and cash and commercial and pocket. Or else I'll press on capital here. Or else capital is central and cardinal and also chef. In terms of chef, I mean the cooking chef. I see capital is chef and also dominant and leading and mayor in terms of the major and primary and prime. I'll go press on chef over here. I actually have to go cardinal because cardinal is a better word I have to learn. Whereas cardinal over here is overriding and central and chef and first and leading and primary and prime and ruling. Whereas I have to go and see from these words, I'll go into prime and see what's there. I see prime is heyday and best and flower and pink and prize and verdure and vitality and zenith. Whereas I'll go zenith to see what that word is. I see zenith is, whereas I can also make sure that no matter what, you guys can see me over here. I could hold my selfie stick as well. Whereas although I can see zenith is altitude and apex and climax and crown and culmination and eminence and height and payoff. I see now. Whereas apex, I'll go see what apex is. I see apex is apogee and culmination and pinnacle and acme and climax and cusp and point and zenith. I'll go acme over here. I see acme is apogee and culmination and height and peak and summit and top and vertex and zenith. I'll go culmination over here. I'm going to press, I see culmination is apex and climax and completion and pinnacle and acme and finish and noon and zenith. I see, I have to go and see apogee over here because that word is familiar in a way that I will go and read it now, although it's a word now that I must learn. Whereas apogee is apex and acme and climax and crest and peak and summit and zenith. I'll go and press summit. Whereas summit is acme and summit is acme and apex and climax and culmination and head and pinnacle and vertex and zenith. Whereas crest over here, I have to learn crest. Whereas crest is height and peak and ridge and acme and crescendo and culmination and head and pinnacle. Whereas I go crescendo. Alright guys, this is how I actually word my sentences and how I actually get smarter. So I just go and connect the words together. And this is how you also overcome schizophrenia. And it's also how to go and help yourself do a better life overall. I see crescendo is escalation and upsurge and apex and building and culmination and elevation and rise and zenith. I realize although that you have to understand you do it with the heart so that you can overcome the ego, because sometimes your ego is right here and it's really your ego is up here, although when you're going to the heart you'll always be able to find a better way. Okay, escalation. Whereas escalation is acceleration and increase and rise and growth. Whereas I go upsurge. Whereas upsurge is boom and improvement and recovery and upswing and upturn and advance and rise. I'll go boom and let's have a look over here. I see boom is, I realize boom is explosion and barrage and burst and culminate and roar and smash and thunder and wham. I realize how to see what wham is. I see wham is bang and blow and crash and knock and slam and smash and strike and whack. I'll go and see over here what strike is. I realize strike is beat and collide and crash and drive and knock and pummel and punch and smack. I have to go see what pummel is. I realize pummel is batter and crush and knock and pelt and punch and smack and thrash. And I realize pummel is trounce as well. Or let's go and trounce something in a better way. Or let's trounce is bash and beat and clobber and crash and drub and put away and rout and swamp. I'll go see what drub is. I see drub is clobber and spank and trouse. Or let's drub is trounce and wallop and beat and cane and hit and lash. I'll go check out what wallop is. I see wallop is clobber and drub and pummel and smack and whack and bushwhack and pound and slam. I'll see what bushwhack is. I see bushwhack is assault and attack and surprise and waylay. I'll go see what waylay is. I see waylay is accost and box and bushwhack and jump and lurk and prowl and skulk and slink. I'll go see what skulk is. I see skulk is crouch and prowl and slink and snoop and dodge and hide and pussyfoot and slack. I have to see pussyfoot. I have to see what this is. I see pussyfoot is avoid and dodge and glide and shuffle and sidestep and skulk. I realize pussyfoot is skulk and steal and tergiversate. I realize tergiversate. I realize that pussyfoot is tergiversate. I realize pussyfoot is tergiversate. I'll go check out what I realize this word is tergiversate. I realize tergiversate is apostatize and defect and equo. I see investigate is equivocate. I realize equivocate. I realize to investigate is equivocate and hedge and renounce and shift and shuffle. I realize equivocate. I realize equivocate. You have to understand that when you are pronouncing words, you look at the vowels and you pronounce the vowels of the word. And that's that. Whereas equivocate is allude and escape and evade and fence and pussyfoot and shuffle and sidestep and waffle. I'll go evade. I see evade is avoid. I see evade is avoid and conceal, and evade is deceive and dodge and fend off and flee and hide and sidestep. You can see this. Whereas conceal over here is camouflage, and whereas conceal is cloak and cover and harbor and lurk and mask and stash and stow. I realize I have to see what stow is. Whereas stow is put away and secret. I see stow is secrete, and also stash and tuck and bundle and deposit and load and stuff. Whereas camouflage. Whereas camouflage is cloak and conceal and mask and obscure and dim and dissimulate and obfuscate and screen. I see obfuscate is baffle and befuddle and bewilder and complicate and conceal and muddle and perplex and puzzle. I'll go befuddle. I see befuddle is baffle and bewilder and daze and distract and dumbfound and muddle and puzzle and stupefy. Or else stupefy. Or else befuddle is stupefy. Or else stupefy is benumb and daze and deaden and dull and dumb. I see deaden is desensitize and impair and abate and cushion and mute and reduce and smother and soften. Well, guys, this is how I actually do my nice beautiful videos, and also I also just make sure that no matter what that I'm doing synonyms, so that you understand that I'm teaching along the way what words are, and I'm also doing video on it so that I can still record myself as I do my nice beautiful practice here, because you have to understand that you can do the same, and it's worthwhile that you go and teach people what words are either way. Although you have to understand that all I'm really teaching you here is what different words are, and also along the way I may add something new. And the whole point of this is that you go and understand that when you create a video and you do 20 minutes of synonyms, I mean, just record yourself along the way so that you can at least teach somebody how you do it. Whereas abate is dwindle and ebb and recede and slacken and slow and subside and taper and wane. I'll go ebb, which is EBB. Whereas ebb is degenerate and dwindle and lessen and melt and peter out and recede and slacken and wane. Whereas peter out, whereas peter out, whereas peter out, whereas peter pen. Whereas peter out is abate and ebb and evaporate and fade and recede and wane and diminish and drain. Whereas each and every single time I do these words, I learn something along the way about vocabulary today, and you have to do it every day for 20 minutes. And you have to understand you can do it more than 20 minutes. I just realized I could do it for 20 minutes, although I set this video to be for 20 minutes, and then I can just go and do my life. Although I've already seen some words and I already remember stupefy is numb and degaze and all this kind of stuff, so I realize it's amazing. I see wane is abate and astrophy and decrease and dim and dwindle and ebb and subside and wither. I realize that I know nothing, although I know I because I have to know thyself, although you have to understand that thyself means I. Whereas astrophy is degeneration and decline and degeneracy and deterioration and diminution and also downfall and downgrade. Whereas that I can also pronounce all these nice beautiful big words that are so complex, although they're very simple, and I'm not complex. Although everything is simple, and I look at everything simple, I look at everything in a simple way, and it's also always simplified in my way. So when I become a simple human being, I'm never complex. I realize that diminution is abatement, and I realize elevation. I realize that diminution is elevation and curtailment, and cut back and decay and decline and deduction. You have to understand that when you're doing words and you're learning words, you're going to pick up words really quickly, and then you can also public speak and use this whole broad and range of ideas that you have with words, and then change it up with your communication each and every single time and along the way, so that you understand you're going to become a better communicator along the way. So that's why I'm doing this. Whereas diminution is abatement and elevation and curtailment. So I said that. Whereas that curtailment is abbreviation and condensation and cutback and also reduction. Whereas condensation is contraction and abstract and brief and compendium and compression and also consolidation and essence and reduction. Whereas compendium is abstract and brief and essence and manual and sketch and summary and survey and syllabus. Whereas I'll go syllabus. I see syllabus is curriculum and sypnosis and conspectus. I see conspectus. I see syllabus is conspectus. I see also syllabus is outline and review and rundown and schedule and sketch, or else conceptus, or else conspectus. Or else conspectus is abstract and outline and overview and review and rundown and resume, and you can also say regime. Or else conspectus is regime and sub, or else conspectus, or else it's conspectious. I see now. I see conspectious is abstract and outline and overview and review and rundown and resume and summation and sypnosis. Whereas now I'm learning more how to pronounce words. Whereas summation is addition and aggregate and sum. Whereas now I'll go addition, for example. Whereas addition is extension and inclusion and accession. Whereas addition is accession and annexation and attachment and augmentation and also enlargement and adjoining. Whereas I'll go annexation because I've never heard of that word before. Whereas annexation is incorporation and addition and appropriation and also attachment and grab and increase and increment and also merger. Whereas now I have a better indication of what accrementation is, which is an appropriate view, or realize that you can now name sentences and an acronym or an accrementation is a syllabus where you can understand different words in the culmination of life. Whereas now what I said there is just a sum basis of something that I said that's really going to help. Whereas now it helps you to word with, or realize it helps you all to help yourself to understand that when you do words and you elaborate on them and you word them together, you're going to be able to speak all these different words and you can go anyway. I see increment is another word for poetry. I see increment is accession. I realize increment is accession and accrual and advancement and increase and profit and raise and rise and supplement. I realize, guys, that each and every single time you do this, you'll always learn something more about words. I'll say accrual is accumulation and build up and increase, and I realize accrual is amassing and amassment. So when I break up and I stuff up, I go and I say accrual is amassing, and then I say and from that point, and then I continue. So for example, I may go accrual is accumulation and build up and increase. So when I may stuff up, then I'll go accrual is, I'll start accrual is, and then I'll say and. Whereas accrual is amassing and amassing in terms of amassment. We've got amassment over here. I'll go and see amassment is acquiring and aggregation and amassing and assemblage. I see amassment is ablage. I see amassment is assemblage and collection and cumulation. I realize culmination. I realize culmination. I realize amassment. I realize amassment is culmination and also gathering and mass. I know nothing except I. I realize now. I'll go aggregation. I realize aggregation is aggregate and gathering and all. I realize I picked up gathering with that word. I realize although it's gathering, I realize now I'm better than gathering. I'm better than everything I say, and I understand now. Gathering is collection and conclave and conference and congregation and crowd and functioning and group and throng. Whereas I'll go check out conclave. Whereas conclave is confab and powwow and assembly and cabinet and conference and gathering and huddle and parley. Whereas powwow. Whereas powwow is confab and parley and confabulation and also conference and consultation and council and huddle and meeting. I see confabulation over here. I see confabulation is chat and chit chat and confab and converse and dialogue and discussion and whereas confabulation is, I realize I just stuffed up, although I'll go backwards in a way that I go confabulation is palaver and speech, so I'll just go forward. Whereas palaver is babel and conference and conservation in terms of conversation and dialogue and discussion and flagger and parley and wheedle. Whereas I'll go see wheedle. I'm having fun with this. Whereas wheedle is cajole and finagle and coax and cause and draw and flagger and oil and seduce. I'll go cajole. Whereas cajole is deceive and dupe and entice and entrap and seduce and tantalize and tempt and wheedle. Whereas now I'll go to these words. I see finagle is cheat and contrive and deceit. Whereas finagle is deceive and also manipulation and plot and scheme and swindle and trick. Whereas there's another one over here which is coax. Whereas coax is cajole and entice and induce and tease and tempt and wheedle and barter and flatter. So when I go and just reread the synonyms of each word, I realize I pick up some words along the way and others I don't even remember them, although I just keep on going, and then I realize that the whole point is just pick up some words. And even if you miss a word here and there, I mean, who cares? I mean, just keep learning and you pick up other words along the way. And as long as you're picking up words and learning those words, in terms of just you keep on doing this, you pick up 2 words out of 10 words and you're still smarter than before. I realize that when I read 10 of these pages, I realize I may pick up 5 words. I realize although I may have read 100 words and connected 100 words together, although it's really that I picked up 100% of the information, although I would remember, and I still remember always, I never would, I still remember how to really understand those words once I connect them. So 5 ways to connect something is amazing in terms of communication. I realize although you just keep reading and you'll pick up more along the way, and that's it. I promise you there's no failure here. I realize tease, I'll go tease. I realize tease is annoy and bother and needle and nudge and pick on and ridicule and tantalize and taunt. I'll go tantalize is annoy and baffle and entice and fascinate and frustrate and titillate and torment and bedevil. I'll go titillate over here. I love I. Realize titillate is amuse and realize titillate is entertain and tantalize and tease and tickle, and I realize titillate is hook and palpate and thrill. Realize titillate is thrill. You can also say that titillate is struggle as well. Whereas palpate is abut and boggle. Whereas palpate is border and caress and converge and probe and rub and stroke and verge. Realize now I'll go abut. I don't know what abut is. Realize that abut is adjoin and border on and join, and also neighbor and be adjacent to and butt against. Realize now abut is butt against. I see now butt against is adjoin and follow and score and touch and bound and rank and rim and verge. Okay, adjoin. Realize adjoin is abut and approximate and communicate and connect and join and lie and link and verge. Realize now you guys understand why I record myself along the way, because it's so smart to do so. And you may as well have 30 minutes of doing this on camera than having to do it just with yourself without a camera recording you, and you can see why it's so smart. Whereas although you're going to teach people how to do it. I realize over here I've got link. Realize that when you connect these words together, you're going to be smarter. And no matter where you are, you can start with a little kid. You can start with anyone. You have to understand that you go and teach them. And what you're going to do is realize that anybody can start at any age. And then you teach kids just do this. And you have to understand that this is the best way to invent something. And it's also the best way to innovate. And it's the best way to leadership everything. to understand that as soon as you teach your kids to just do this, you have to understand, you just send your kids this video. You have to understand that this video is going to teach them how to do this. And then you understand that your kid will go and do them. And then they will be able to do this. And now, I don't know if they will do it or not, although you have to do it every day. And you have to do this every day and record yourself along the way, and it's worth it. I get to look at myself in the mirror, which is my phone over here, and I love myself each and every step of the way because I get to enjoy myself. Alright, link is associate and attach and bind and combine and identify and join and relate and unite. Alright, so over here, I'll say identify. I see identify is analyze and classify and describe and determine and diagnose and establish and pinpoint and spot. I'll go pinpoint. I'll see pinpoint. I see pinpoint is diagnose and apostrophe and also identify and recognize and distinguish and finger and place and spot and determinate. You can also add your own meanings as well. Alright, over here I'll go determinate. Alright, determinate is certain and decide. Alright, determinate is decided and decisive and determined and determining and distinct and final and firm. I'll go distinct over here. I don't know. I see culinary. I realize that's the word I said before. Alright, distinct is definite and noticeable and specific and unmistakable and audible and categorical and clean cut and clear. I'll go clean cut is categorical and clear and definite and definitive and explicit and express and sharp and specific. Also, I'll go categorical. Unless I just pick one word from those 8 words that are cousins of the word, and I just go and choose a word that I don't know. Unless categorical is absolute and clear cut and definite and definitive and apathetic. Unless categorical is apathetic, or less apathetic, or less empathetic, or less I see that's emphatic. Or less categorical is emphatic and forthright. Realize that it's forthright. Realize categorical is forthright and ambiguous. Realize now unculinary. I don't know. Realize that categorical is ambiguous. Realize categorical is ambiguous. Realize this is unambiguous. Realize I just confused myself before. Realize although categorical is ambiguous and unequivocal. Realize unequivocal. Realize unequivocal. Realize unequivocal. Realize unequivocal. I see this is equivocal. Realize equivocal. Realize unequivocal. Realize unequivocal. I see unequivocal. Whereas categorical is unequivocal. Whereas that's how you pronounce it. Whereas now I see unequivocal. I see what a word. I see unequivocal is I see unequivocal is apparent and categorical and clear cut and explicit and indisputable and obvious and straightforward and ambiguous. Whereas unequivocal is unambiguous. Whereas it's the opposite of ambiguous. Whereas although that unequivocal is ambiguous, although it's the opposite of ambiguous, because this is ambiguous. Whereas this is whereas it's also, just how I say, it's unambiguous, and that's the opposite of that. Whereas the whole point of this is just to keep going. I realize unambiguous is explicit and obvious, and I see univocal. 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 Whereas unambiguous is univocal and apparent and distinct and plain and unblurred. You may stuff up along the way, although you just make sure you correct yourself better. Whereas unblurred is luminous and unambiguous and clear cut and comprehensible and distinct and explicit and intelligible. I realize this is more than enough, guys. So I realize that once I did all that, I realize I get uncomfortable. So when I get uncomfortable, I just stop. I realize although that I don't stop. I just realize that it's more, I can feel that it's more enough for me today to just let that be. And I understand it's just a practice. Although when you go and connect words together, I promise you, if you keep connecting the words, you'll learn more and you'll get more uncomfortable along the way. And now, as long as you feel that those words are more than enough, I mean, you're just going to stop. And you're going to stop it for today. And then you just go and do it every single day. And then just tape yourself along the way that you're doing it. And like that, you can go and teach people along the way how you rank your score of notes. So when you understand that you are somebody of a teacher today, and you're going to teach somebody something, I mean, just go from the heart and do it, and speak to people from the heart, and just be obvious. I mean, be obvious like a preliminary way that's going to say that you're straightforward, and you're going to understand, you're going to be much better. And you have to understand. I'll see you guys in the next video. Although, just make sure that you stay on touch and keep it going.